Alabama travels to Oklahoma on Friday night. It's a 7:20 kickoff, I believe. It's a rematch of a regular season game we had. Different location. Oklahoma went to Bama in the regular season and beat them there. But it's a small spread. Oklahoma is favored by 1.5. It should be one of the two kind of great games we get in this opening round. Though we can always hope for a Cinderella upset. But y'all's thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is a super exciting game to talk about and to preview because it's been such a interesting. It's not a rivalry, but the past 2 years it's been a really interesting matchup. So last year you have Alabama goes to Oklahoma and plays there, and Jalen Milroe. I remember very well, has a terrible game. I had him in fantasy. I think this was leading up to the playoffs, and I finished as a 4 seed. I snuck in, but I remember vividly the poor game he had and the interceptions, and I think he finished near 0 points. I mean, it was a terrible game fantasy wise from him, and the on field performance kind of matched that fantasy output. And then you fast forward to this year where Oklahoma's coming into Alabama. Kalen DeBoer struggled on the road, but you would think that in Bryant Denny it shouldn't be as much of an issue. You hope that they can get the win. They're favored by over a touchdown or at a touchdown. Um, and Oklahoma comes in, just the turnovers they force, it kind of leads to the upset. And so that leads into the third matchup in almost a calendar year. I don't remember when it would have been a little bit over a
A
calendar
year and
year.
change. A year
Yeah,
and
but the
change.
third matchup we've seen very recently. Um, and it's going to be really interesting to see, can Oklahoma kind of recreate some of that defensive magic they've had with the Milroe turnovers and the Ty Simpson interceptions. This is an opportunity for Brent Venables to really put his stamp on. I'm not going to call it the end of a great season because the winner of this game faces up against Indiana, and Indiana is the second favorite to win the championship at this point. But as a guy who kind of came into the season near the hot seat, I mean, they go 7-5 or 6-6 last year, and the Jackson Arnold thing doesn't work. And this year they really they full sent it, and they brought in Mateer and the offensive coordinator from Washington State, and it's working. And so this is a really great opportunity for Venables to kind of mixed results. We'll say mixed results. They're winning games. They're
They
winning
are winning games.
games.
They made the playoffs, which was
Yeah,
the goal.
yeah.
The offense
So
probably has not been as good as desired.
yeah, I'll agree to call it mixed results, but it's just a big opportunity for Brent Venables to really get a huge badge for his vest or whatever you want to say it, a trophy for the wall in his office. As
Yeah.
the guy who's now beat Alabama 3 times in a row, a guy who
Well, he
now has.
becomes
Go ahead.
he does something Lincoln Riley never could do at OU,
Yeah,
and that's win a playoff game. And so they were all distraught when he left, and now it's suddenly like, oh, the guy we brought in has done more than Lincoln Riley ever did at OU, and also more than Lincoln Riley has done at USC. So I think OU fans would greatly appreciate it from that aspect as well.
yeah. So I'm really excited to watch the matchup. The stories around it, we got a lot of red on this side of the bracket. Alabama, Oklahoma, winner faces Indiana. But it's going to be a really awesome matchup. JP, you want to get us started on any X's and O's, or do you have other story stuff to look to before we get into the X's and O's?
Well, dynamic wise, I don't know how much it matters that um, Venables has to win this game to put a stamp on anything because I feel like he already has
Yeah,
twice in this series, winning last year when severely undermanned at quarterback, and then winning this year in Tuscaloosa. Really, no one does that. There aren't many coaches or quarterbacks or any of that win in Tuscaloosa. So I don't necessarily think that it matters that much to win this game, but it does matter. It would be a playoff win, like Jack said, something that Lincoln was able to do. Um, it would also it would solidify a "we own you" kind of thing. It'd
Sure,
be
third time's
one
the
of
charm.
these new teams that are joining the SEC in Texas and OU. It would be another one of the teams of, oh, OU owns Bama, Georgia owns Texas, and for a while it looked like maybe Bama owned Georgia, but not so much at this point. X's and O's wise, this is I think it's when you look back at the last game, Bama outgained OU by 200 yards. OU scored 17 points off 3 turnovers from Bama. A pick six from Ty Simpson near the red zone. Ryan Williams muffed a punt, didn't muff it, got punched out on a return trying to do too much. OU had the ball inside their 20 then. That turned into a touchdown. And then there was another field goal off of a fumble in the second half. That's the 17 points OU scored. They only needed 6 offensive points on drives that weren't uh, off of a turnover to win that game. And that is more than likely what they're going to need again. They're going to need those kind of turnover luck. The key thing though here for them is Bama is kind of on the ropes. They have not played well offensively for the better part of 3 weeks to 4 weeks. Their offensive line play has not been great. You know, you hope to have running back health, and it seems like Jam Miller is going to play, but how healthy is he in this game? I think you have to be able to establish some kind of ground game to allow yourself to put Ty Simpson in more favorable positions, something we've talked about all year. When they aren't successful on first and second down, and this is true for any team, but when you have to go up against fronts like OU and like Georgia in the SEC championship, 3rd and 9 is it's more like 3rd and 18. It's no different to when you play Texas A&M, and in fact, A&M and OU lead the country in sacks this year. Both teams have 44 sacks this year. They're elite at getting after the quarterback, and they're elite at doing that because they force these 3rd and longs so well. They have a really stout run defense, and so if Bama can't find some easy running, it was already hard to do it at home. You can only imagine it's going to be harder to do it on the road at OU. And I think storyline wise, that's where the biggest story will be told is Lincoln Riley 4 years ago leaves Oklahoma, and it felt like a backstab. He goes to USC. He takes the bright sunshine of USC, takes the money of USC. We're forced to pick the homegrown Brent Venables from Clemson, who's been a defensive coordinator, played at Oklahoma as well, and it was not working in the Big 12. And now the scare was coming into the SEC. It would not work, and it did not work in the first year. But in the second year, it is. And now I think for their fan base, it is that's where the tremendous opportunity lies to stick it to Lincoln Riley, who hasn't even made the playoff at USC, and to have that prime time Friday night, we kick off the playoff. Everybody, all eyes on us. We're facing the biggest brand in college football. One could argue in Alabama. I think that's where the real all the X's and O's get thrown out the window. How does this crowd affect Alabama and affect the Oklahoma defense and even their offense that has struggled this year?
Yeah, the crowd is definitely going to matter a ton. The biggest thing in my eyes, and you've referenced it, and Tucker's referenced it in the chat. We've heard a ton from kind of the Bama coaching staff, Bama players. Oh, the reason for our late season slide is the injuries just mounted up a ton, and we just weren't healthy. But now that we're going to be able to get healthy after a couple weeks off, or a week off, we're going to like play more to our standard of the middle of the season. And so do you believe them? Do you believe that they're all going to be healthy and ready to roll, and help this team kind of turn it around and fix some of their issues? Or are they still going to be injured, or is it just not really going to matter? Obviously, I don't have the answer there. I'm not in the Alabama training room asking the guys, "So how are we feeling? Like, are you healthy? Are you better?" But I think that's just a huge factor that we simply won't get the answer to until we get out there on the field. And that's not me trying to like take something away from Oklahoma. If Oklahoma goes out there and wins it, I'm not going to come on the show, after and be like, well, Bama just wasn't healthy, because Bama has issues aside from that. But that is a key factor to me. If Alabama rolls out there and the key pieces they've been missing down the stretch still aren't good to go. You mentioned Jam Miller, even Cuevas at tight end, Parker Brailsford, LT Overton, guys like that. I just don't really see them going into OU and winning if those guys, or a good portion of those guys, aren't ready to roll. I think that's a huge piece here.
Yeah, and
I think what's being talked about kind of wrongly in this game is we're talking about OU and their offense being terrible, and I completely understand that. But I think what's being missed is it's OU at home, And with that home crowd and the home energy, and then also just having it being quiet, they have had a ton of explosive plays at home this year, explosive
Sure.
touchdowns. You think of the Missouri game, the LSU game. You even think back to the Auburn game when they cheated and they had the explosive play on the sideline as well. They have been explosive at home and they've had an explosive touchdown. And that's been the difference in a lot of their home victories. And I don't think people are recognizing that as a potential threat. I don't think Bama
Yeah.
fans are recognizing that. I don't think the main national media is recognizing that. I think it's just being a pushover of OU's going to score 10 points and it'll be because they got lucky. No, they could just pop you with Satanga over the top. Xavier Robinson has had big runs this year. What if Mateer breaks loose? What if we see yet another long run from a quarterback in a college football playoff? We've seen plenty of those scenarios. It only takes one because if they're going to hold Bama to under 13 points, if they just need one and a little turnover luck, and it really is all they need. It doesn't matter that Bama looks like they're going to outgain you by 200 yards. If they pop you for a 70-yard touchdown, that could be the difference. And I don't think people have recognized that looking up to this game, that they have
Yeah.
that ability, and they've done that at home every single game.
Yeah, I'm also. You mentioned turnover luck. It's weird because the Alabama Oklahoma game was the outlier in the regular season for the most part for those two teams. Ty Simpson typically doesn't turn the ball over a bunch, especially not throwing picks. And Oklahoma, as good of a defense as they've been, they've not really made their money on forcing turnovers. So it's like, are they going to revert back to kind of the side of, oh, there's a bunch of data points and that OU doesn't force turnovers, or is it going to look more like their first matchup still, where they do force Ty Simpson to make mistakes? And I mean, that's obviously turnover battle is another huge key. I'll ask you all, if Alabama wins the turnover battle here, if it that part of the script flips, and not massively, say they're +1 in the turnover battle, what type of chances do you think OU has to win this game?
I think OU still has chances. I think that they have the kind of a lot of it'll depend on location, right? Are they red zone turnovers, or
Sure.
are you giving Alabama free points by turning it over in field goal range? I think that's going to be super important. But I think that this OU defense is still good enough that if Mateer throws a couple picks around the 50, that they could get all Alabama off the field without allowing any points. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how good the OU defense is, and I'll be interested to see. I saw the interview with or saw a quote from the Alabama OC, kind of saying they've tried everything for the Alabama run game. Like they've kind of they've tried a lot of different things, and none of them really worked all season. And you look at their last matchup against OU, and I liked something Josh Pate said going into the first matchup, where OU's greatest strength was taking away the run game, and Alabama's biggest weakness was the run game. And he was like, well, does it really matter, right? So if Alabama can't run the ball against a normal team, how much does it matter that they can't run the ball against OU? Because that's just how they normally function, is struggling to run the
Yeah.
ball. OU holds them to 2.4 yards per carry. They under 100 yards total. I mean, it was a poor day, and so I'll be interested to see. I expect more of the same from Alabama, and that's why I kind of think that Oklahoma could still much be in this game -1 in the turnover battle.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's a fair point. I'm just like,
yeah,
same thing. Oklahoma, Alabama didn't run the ball in the regular season matchup and still put up over 400 yards.
yeah,
They just shot themselves in the foot, and that's why they didn't really kind of turn that production into the same level of production in the point column.
hmm
So just it's something to be interesting. I'm interested to see. But yeah, they probably won't run the football. They haven't all season, except against East Illinois or whoever it was that the admin on Twitter had to, pump up and try and be like, oh look, we're a good running team because we ran it up on our FCS opponent. Respect us, respect that running back room, respect the offensive line's run blocking. I'm good personally, admin. You can't fool me. You're not gonna fool like really anyone with that. I'm not trying to act like I'm some like genius that like saw through that easy ploy. But yeah, that was wild. I'm sorry. That's crazy stuff.
Um, More X's and O's. Josh Cuevas is going to play. That's the
Huge.
safety valve tight end for Alabama. He had a huge day in the first one, 6 catches, 80 yards, a touchdown in that game. He will be absolutely critical as a check down option for Ty Simpson. Um, in critical situations. I really want to see does OU just give up what they gave up last time. Ty Simpson threw for 320, and a lot of that was he was able to hit routes over the middle of the field. He was not throwing it up the sideline a ton. He was just finding Jeremy Bernard over the middle, Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams over the middle, and I'm curious to see if two things: will OU try to take that away? Because that was where a lot of the big games were coming for Bama. They had catches that went for 26, 38, 25, 17 over the middle. Those are big plays, big chain movers. I'm curious to see if OU takes it away. Two, does Ty Simpson have the confidence to throw those again? Because when I was at that game in Tuscaloosa, he was very confident in throwing those throws over the middle of the field. And when he was able to make that read and it was there, threw it with a lot of conviction. Will he have that same effect on the road at night? If he gets hit early in this game, is he able to take advantage of that if they give that to him again? Because I think that's the key, really, for Bama to move the ball down the field is Ty Simpson in the intermediate passing game with Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton. I think you're going to need, again, another productive day from those two and Bernard and Josh Cuevas. And then I think you need someone else to step up as well. And that's been really the question for a ton of this season is who is going to be that third guy for Bama. Is it the cover athlete and Ryan Williams? Much of the season it's been Isaiah Horton. They're going to need someone else to step up, make a big play on the road. Because otherwise, I think if you just rely on Jeremy Bernard and Josh Cuevas, as good as they are, I think you're going to get forced into a double team at some point, and that's where Ty Simpson throws his interception. A big key for OU defensively is going to be taking away, I think, those two guys, taking away Ty Simpson's first read, thus allowing the pass rush to get to him or force him to make some kind of read and throw he doesn't have a ton of confidence in, and that's where the pick ends up coming from. I'm really curious to see how that works because watching that game in person, that was a ton of the stuff that Jeremy Bernard was getting was just one on one over the middle, and Ty Simpson was hitting them really whenever he pleased. Will OU take that away in this game? I really want to see if that's going to be something they do.
Yeah, we have two rematches in the first round. In terms of games we've already seen before, this is one where it's like almost cooler. It's a rematch because it adds storyline and layers. Like how do teams adjust? Whereas the other one's kind of like I don't really know if I want to have to watch this again because it really wasn't pretty the first time. Now Tulane, I hold out hope. I'm rooting for you. At 100% capacity probably. I don't know when the game kicks off. Is that the afternoon game? It's the afternoon game.
Yeah, that's the
So
2:30, the TNT game or something.
at 2:30, I'll be rooting my tail off for Tulane, but I can't say I have tons of optimism. I don't think we should get into the weeds necessarily any further. Let's go and pick this game. And I believe Sanders, you get first pick here.
Is that yes? I do. I have the lead in the pick'em by one game, 47 and 46. JP's at 46 and 47, and Jack is 43 and 50. So the
Dang.
plan is we're going to pick these four games as part of that pick'em. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good too.
All right, cool. JP wants his chance to make the comeback. I think Jack would need a miracle to
It just
tie.
makes sense.
No,
Thankfully,
it does
I
make
believe
sense.
in miracles.
It does.
So.
It does make sense. Hey, and people say Cinderella runs can't happen in college football. That's just crazy. I will start us off. OU is favored by 1.5. I'm gonna go with OU. I know Tucker said in the chat it's hard to beat a team twice, but I just think the way I think OU's defense. I just have had so much faith in that, like all season long, and I think they've been playing really well. And Alabama, I noticed y'all have not called me an Alabama fan yet this show. I don't know if that was
it's coming in like 10 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I got ahead of it, but I'll be picking OU.
You've been kind of incriminating yourself anyway.
I feel like this is like you're trying to like fade. It's like an emotional hedge of like, oh, if Bama loses, at least my pick is right. And then like if my pick is wrong, that means my team won. And so I'm now in a win-win situation. That's kind of how it feels to me what you just did.
Yeah, but if I picked Alabama, then it would have been homerism because I'm an Alabama fan. It's just kind of a lose-lose if you think about it.
You were saying that you remember the Jalen Monroe game last year very vividly, and then you claimed it was because of your fantasy football team and not that your team, your newfound team that you had just adopted that year, was going to miss the playoff because of that game. But
And
I
Andrew makes a
agree,
great
Andrew.
point that my
I guess we'll
bringing it
take your
up
word for it.
is even further proof that I'm a Bama fan. I think it's more of just like a Pavlovian dog thing where if I talk about Alabama, I know y'all are gonna make fun of me you're gonna call me an Alabama fan, which I'm not. And so it's just whenever I think Alabama, I think about you guys calling me an Alabama fan mistakenly. So
Sure.
it's
Um,
Pavlov's dog or something.
JP, shall you make your pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna take OU in this game.
Sure. Sure.
It's good. The game I feel the most confident about this weekend.
Really?
I really think that
As far as spread goes, or
uh,
outright
I'm
winning.
assuming in terms of spread. I'm assuming in terms of spread.
in terms of spread, um,
Hey, you never know.
in
JP's had some
ter-
hot takes before.
I mean, I'm not gonna pick an upset, but I may end up picking the underdog in the two Group of Five games, um, to cover the spread at least. I think that OU owns Bama. I think there's a huge psychological edge right there. I don't think Bama is going to be healthy enough, even though their guys are good to go. I think the rust right off the bat is going to affect them. And if they don't score on the opening drive, which is something that they have done really, really well all year. I mean, go back to the week one against Florida State. They were electric on that first
I
drive.
never felt more confident in my national championship pick in my life.
All downhill from there. I don't think that would be a similar story here. I think if they did score first, that really changes the way this game goes. But I don't think they will score first. I think they're going to be rusty off the bat. And the last visual we have of this Bama team is them being bombarded by the dogs in Georgia, and us wondering whether or not if Ty Simpson doesn't complete a screen pass to Jeremy Bernard and that ends up becoming a touchdown, are we wondering if Bama should even be in the playoff after that SEC championship game? I think it would have been a lot bigger of a conversation. But because they cut the lead from 21-0 to 21-7, they're a lock and they should be in. But that's neither here nor there. I think OU's defense is going to get after Ty Simpson again. I think they're going to win the turnover battle again. I think OU's going to pop the long touchdown like they have at home all year. And I think they win this game no different to how they won the Missouri or LSU game, where it is ugly, ugly, ugly. It is close, but OU wins 17-13. I think a critical part of this game is going to be special teams and Mr. Short Shorts, the Lou Groza Award winner, best kicker in college football, Tate Sandell, who hasn't missed from 50 plus this year. I think he is a critical part to this game. But give me OU 17-13.
You'll make some good points. Some stuff I can't argue with. I think I am going to side with Tucker in the chat. It's hard to beat a team twice. And as Pam's 329 in the chat has said, the last team Alabama has lost to twice in the same season was in 1893 to the Birmingham Athletic Club, which sounds more like a European football team, to be honest, than an
Yeah.
American football team. But I guess they played American football. But yeah, I'm going to take Alabama here. Never say die. It's my national champion pick. It's still alive. They moved the ball really well last time they played Oklahoma. I know they turned the ball over. They didn't get the points, and a lot of that was credit to Oklahoma for that. But I think I'm going to trust Ty Simpson to not turn the ball over as many times. I'm going to trust that Alabama defense to limit OU's offense because OU's offense is limited. It's not that hard to limit. And I think they're going to pull. I'm not going to call it a stunner because it's a 1.5 point spread. But with the way they've been talked about a lot of like, oh, should they even make the playoffs? Their coach should just go ahead and leave for Michigan. Oh, they've been terrible down the stretch. I think in some ways it's deserved to call it a stunner that they can turn around a lot of those narratives and get a huge win in Norman on Friday night.
Yeah, before we move on, normally we'd wrap it up with the pick'em. I did want to. There was one or two things in the chat that I thought were interesting that I wanted to throw in and have a part of this preview. Andrew McBride asks, "Is this a guaranteed close game, or is there a possibility for a blowout?" And JP, I see you responded in chat saying it's guaranteed to be close. And Jack, you also agree. I just want to talk about that for a sec because I completely agree with y'all. I think this game is definitely going to be close because I don't see Oklahoma's defense allowing Alabama to win by 14 to 21 points, and I don't see Oklahoma's offense being able to get enough of a lead on Alabama that we would call it a blowout. I just don't see either of those units being able to dominate enough that the other side, like that, they're not going to be able to keep it close. So I think that's a big reason I see this being a close game. And it's also
Yeah,
two
I mean,
really good head coaches. I mean, DeBoer has been a great head coach, and at Washington was always in close games and won a lot of them, and went to the championship. And then Brent Venables has been really good, going 10-2 this year. So it's two really good head coaches, and two talented rosters. I don't see either team being able to blow one or the other out.
they just don't do it. OU doesn't put up the points too, and Alabama doesn't really like playing complete games. I'll be honest, even in some of their wins. Even like think about the Georgia win earlier this season. Fantastic first half, offense lays a goose egg in the second half. They get a win, it's a huge win. But I just don't really see them going and putting on the masterclass performance it would take in Norman to go win a blowout. And then, yeah, I just don't think, like you said, OU's defense is going to score enough. And also, what's a blowout? Like 14, 17 points. I don't really consider that a blowout. It's not a one-score game for sure, but you kind of got to get up into the 20s before I really consider that a blowout. And I especially don't see a 20-point kind of score difference here at all.
Yeah, I mean,
You mentioned
go
the
ahead.
Auburn, or not the Georgia Bama game. That another one is the Iron Bowl. Didn't play
Yeah,
a complete game in the Iron Bowl whatsoever. I think it's guaranteed close from a score perspective, but I will not guarantee that it's close from a how do you feel about the two teams in the
sure.
game.
Yeah,
It very well could be OU wins 17-3 and Bama moved the ball 5 yards a quarter. It could be on the other hand, OU had 8 3-and-outs and they lost 17-3. That's not technically a blowout, but it's definitely not close. I think it's gonna be close, guaranteed score wise, but I won't guarantee that it's close from a how do you feel about the two teams
I
wise.
think that's fair.
yeah. And I thought it was funny, Jack. You said that for it to be a blowout, you have to get up into the 20s. There's a possibility neither team scores 20. So I think that's another reason.
Did I just hear what I think I heard? Are you calling this a race to 20 type of game?
No, those are your calls, Jack. If you would like to call
Okay.
this your race to 20
I
game,
will not. I will not deem this a race to 20. I think it'd be irresponsible of me to deem any playoff game a race to 20, just
final
because
score
there's so much
last
at
game,
stake and there's a
their
lot of
last
variance,
matchup was
man.
23-21. So it's
That's technically not a race to 20. I
not
would have been
technically a
wrong.
race to 20, but
I'll accept 21 as an acceptable race to 20 game.
yeah.
If I really want to take credit, maybe 23.
So
But
23-21, I mean,
if both teams break 20, I won't call it a race
yeah.
to 20 game.
But that's another reason I think it just makes it so unlikely that it's a blowout because, like you said, for it to be a blowout, 2 possessions, 14-point game, is not. I probably wouldn't call a blowout unless you get a weird garbage time, 1 or 2 touchdowns
Sure.
in 5 minutes to end the game. But in all
Yeah.
likelihood, a 14-point win is not a blowout. And
Yeah.
I don't see either team, like, they might not get to 21 points or 28 points. So that's what I'll say to
JP
that.
makes a really good point that final score isn't the only thing that indicates it being a blowout. This
Yeah.
game feel and game flow matters a lot there.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
No, Tucker.
Go ahead.
Tucker had a question in the chat asking how would Alabama be rusty when they played more recently than OU. When I think about rust in football, I think about it from a offensive execution standpoint, and OU already has terrible offensive execution, so that won't really matter towards them. And on the Bama side, for them not playing in 2 weeks, it might matter more towards them. And I also think you could put that with confidence as well. Bama shouldn't feel confident offensively after the way they played against Georgia, and now you come up against what is statistically a better defense that's already given you a hard time from a turnover perspective. I think the confidence will play a factor offensively as well. But I just don't think rust factors that much for OU because I think of offensive execution when it comes to rust. More
If
so than I think
that's
of defensive execution.
Yeah.
OU's offense has been rusty for 2 months,
Yeah.
so it
And
doesn't
also,
really matter.
if you think about, I mean, Alabama has played more recently, but it's not like they were clicking on all cylinders. I mean, they had -3 team rushing yards. Ty Simpson completed under 50% of his passes for a touchdown and
Come on,
interception.
Ty. We got to be better.
So it just, even with the more recent playing, it's not like they impressed last time they were out there. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a terrible take. It's a fair question though. I mean, because typically you do think of recency, you knock off the rust, but I see that.
It won't
JB.
matter. Bama's got it. Bama's got it.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Shout out my boy Ty to the moon.